I saw the trailer for this film and I was like, nah, I'm not going to go see that. Then I saw that Robin Williams' daughter directed this film and I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Whew. And man, that was a mistake. My name is Ryan, and today on the channel, I'm going to be reviewing a comedy, romance, and a dash of horror genre film called Lisa Frankenstein. This film was directed by Zelda Williams, and like I said in the intro, this is Robin Williams' daughter, and it is her directorial debut. It stars Kathryn Newton, Cole Sprouse, and Liza Soberano. Lisa Frankenstein is set in 1989, and it is about a misunderstood teenager who has a crush on a corpse who she brings back to life, and they go on this journey together to find hope, love. As I always do, I'll start off with the positives, and I'm going to be completely 100% honest. There's not many of them, but the few that I have came up with. The first is the colors in this movie. It's very vivid. I like Kathryn Newton's hair. I thought they did a pretty good job with that. The 80s style, it's somewhat in here, but I wouldn't say it's like completely nailed to a T. Some of the music, at least one of the songs I actually like, was played in this film. I'll give that a positive. Kathryn Newton's stepsister in here. I thought she did a pretty good job when she was on screen. I have never seen her in a film before, but I thought that she played a pretty good role for what she was given. And I think Kathryn Newton here, she plays a role that she is this teen goth girl. She likes poetry. She's very much misunderstood by a lot of her classmates. She goes to a party and she just really doesn't want to drink. And in the beginning of this film, she actually gets roofied. She drinks this drink. She has a bunch of hallucinations and stuff. And she has some boy that tries to have sex with her. Shortly after that, she makes a wish. It is thunderstorming out. Lightning strikes down on this gravestone where she's been hanging out because she feels sorry for this man, and he comes to life in corpse form. I had a ton of problems with this film. We'll first start off at the beginning of the film. It's pacing. It's very slow to start up, and a lot of times through this film, the pacing, it just drags and drags and drags throughout the film. The film, it doesn't have much of a score, like at all, and there's a lot of parts where it's very quiet, and you're going through scene to scene with not really much music. There's one scene where they have Can't Fight This Feeling with Rio Speedwagon, and they have Kathryn Newton actually singing the song, and they have the zombie actually playing the piano, and I was like, this is really cringe. It's not funny. It doesn't entertain me. Lisa has this fascination of what the perfect man would be like, but I also feel even though she feels this way, she's very inexperienced, so I don't really think that she really knows exactly what she wants. This film, it really has a struggle of keeping a tone. It shifts a lot. The intentions of this movie and the purpose of this movie, I don't think it's very much clear to me. It feels like it's an idea that is just kind of plastered there. Romantic kind of thing. She's having trouble in high school, having trouble with her dad, her stepmom, family life, people misunderstanding her, and obviously she wants romance. But even with that romance, it's just kind of just scratches the surface a little bit. I really don't feel, as this movie chugs along, that she ever really has much of a romance with this zombie guy. As the film chugs along, it just feels like she could be switching certain feelings about certain guys. I feel like she's very confused, and she thinks she knows what she wants, but she doesn't really know what she wants. The idea of this film, it feels very malleable, and it feels as if it needed some rewrites because it's just not very fun. It feels with the tones shifting and not really being persistent at any point. It's very uneven, and the jokes aren't funny. There's a story also in the beginning about Kathryn Newton's mother, and they just kind of talk about what happened to her, which is fine. I'm okay with that setup. But they go into certain details about the story, and then they just never revisit it again. You're like, okay, so that's kind of a mystery, and they don't dig any deeper with it. When this zombie comes alive, you know, he's looking really wretched looking. He's just looking really dead, obviously, which course, he's a corpse, so he's supposed to look like that. He can't talk. He just makes grunting noises. And throughout this film, a lot of times, Kathryn Newton is talking to the zombie, and she's basically talking to herself because he can just make little noises, not much facial expressions. And that's really all he can do. He's kind of useless in a way. They go into like certain horror little elements a little bit. And the problem is with those horror elements, they can't really get too graphic because it's a PG-13 movie. There's not a lot of blood or anything like that. But you do see like certain things like limbs coming off. You know that's in the movie. Like you can tell like that's happening. And they show a little bit of it. And they get a little bit away from the PG-13 rating a little bit with that, which I was a little bit surprised about. Really lacked a lot of personality. I felt like when we were transferring from scene to scene, it felt very lifeless. It felt very dull. Some of the actual fun parts, when they're actually involving the horror parts, they're going to be funny to some people, and for others, they're not really going to be. I feel like this film, it really gears towards teenagers. For instance, Kathryn Newton's character, her name is Lisa Swallows. Now, to me, that feels very like teenager-ish, high school-ish stuff that I would hear in high school. I wasn't really laughing by it. And there's certain emotions in here, especially with certain characters, that I was just like, really? I mean, I feel like a lot of the characters in here, they don't really have a lot to work with. We're going and transferring to certain scenes, whether it was to the high school or whether it was to her house. It just didn't feel like a lot was really happening. It really was supposed to be a love story. And I was thinking it was going to be on the lines of like Warm Bodies. Like, you know, that movie, it has like an apocalypse and all that stuff. And it has a little bit of love story to it. Well, it just wasn't that. It really was really bland. You know, just besides a few of the small little horror parts and maybe a chuckle or two at that, it wasn't funny. It wasn't entertaining. It was very boring. I really wanted to like this film. I thought it would be really up my alley because I like films like Zombieland, Freaky. Films like that I can really get behind. And this film, it really lacked in the comedy. The romance was just kind of, it's pretty casual. I mean, it's supposed to be a romance between her and this corpse. And there's really not much romance in this film. Like, really at all. There's one part in this film where she likes somebody else, apparently, and that's not even developed. Like, there's stuff in here that is just, it feels like it's just posted on, like, a bulletin board. We'll throw it in the film, and we won't really elaborate anymore. We won't push it any further. Just didn't know exactly what to do with the story, and they list a plot on IMDb, and we all sit here and we're like, okay, like this sounds like it's going to be a good time, but it just was not a good time. It just bored me to tears. I just couldn't wait to get out of the theater. And just, man, I mean, the pacing is atrocious in this movie. The writing, it's not done well. Characters I didn't care about. And the ending, I was just like, really? This is the ending? This is what we're going with? Like, I mean, it is just so frustrating. I feel like it has some ingredients, especially with the zombie portion, which could be really great. Humor could be really great. And it doesn't land. It just doesn't work for me. As far as the score for this film, I would give it a 1.5 out of 5. It just didn't work for me. I just feel like there isn't enough elements here for me to ever want to revisit this film. Unfortunately, I was just really bored. I hate to say that. I hate to say that I sit in a theater and I'm just bored off my ass watching a film like this, because I definitely felt like this film, it could have definitely delivered. I could have had some comedy that I really enjoyed. The horror elements, I mean, they're there a little bit. I can't really be graphic since it's PG-13, but it just doesn't work all the way for me. Let me know down in the comments, what did you guys think about Lisa Frankenstein? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? And if you haven't checked it out, are you going to check it out on streaming? Are you going to check it out later in the theaters? Leave any and all comments down in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time on my next review.